What's up, YouTube? Your boy back once again with another sport topic, and today we're going to talk some basketball, Orlando Magic basketball. If you have not heard, the Orlando Magic fired a brand new head coach, and Steve Clifford, former head coach of the Charlotte Hornets. He was also assistant head coach with the Rockets and here in Orlando and the Lakers before he got the head coaching job with the Charlotte Hornets. I think he got hired when they were still the Bobcats, but transitioned to the Hornets. I could have did a video of my initial reaction, but I wanted to take some time, because I know this happened a couple days ago. I wanted to take some time because I wanted to do some research. Because to be honest, I did not know who the guy was. So I wanted to do some research, see where he's been coaching at, what's his coaching record, has he been to the playoffs, what's his playoff record, things of that nature. So I wanted to see more about him before I made a video. So, like I said, he was assistant coach with Jeff Van Gundy from Houston from the years of 2003 to 2007. And then in 2007, he came to Orlando with Stan Van Gundy from 2011 to 2012. So was the assistant head coach during both Van Gundy's, which means he's a defensive guy. So he's seen us with one of our prime years with the White winning Defensive Player of the Years and knocking off LeBron James in the Eastern Conference Finals and making it to the finals, and also being in the Eastern Conference Finals the following year. So he's been around good basketball in the city of Orlando. So he knows this organization. He's coached it before, even though he was an assistant. So has that type of familiarity. And remember, when the Magic first got to the playoffs under Dwight Howard, they did bring back an old coach. So people were wondering why they just didn't go after Stan. If they're going to bring back this guy, they might as well bring back Stan. I agree with that. Like I said, coming into this process, I didn't have a particular coach that I wanted. A couple years ago, after we fired Zach Vaughn, I did want Mark Jackson at that time. Before we ended up hiring Scott Skiles, I did want us to I did want us to hire Mark Jackson. We didn't go that route. This year, I didn't really have a preferred choice. After Toronto fired their head coach, I did want to take a stab at him because he went to the Eastern Conference. I mean, he's number one seed in the East. Even though they got swept by LeBron, they've had good playoff runs. I think he should be somebody considered. He should be a hot name. But this move here, to be honest, I really don't know. A lot of people are saying that he's a copy of Vogel. He's the same type of coach, and they might as well just kept Vogel. The only difference is Vogel was a hire of Rob Hennigan, not under this regime. He was only under this regime this past year, and really it was an uphill battle for Vogel. Vogel basically had to make the playoffs for him to keep his job, or show something significant for him to keep his job. So it's just like when coaches come in, how they bring in new assistant coaches. They bring in new assistant coaches. When general managers come in, most time they bring in new coaches because they want to bring in their guy. So, and then the guy, Mark Hammond said that when he was in Milwaukee and before they got Jason Kidd, he thought about hiring Steve Clifford then, but he said he blew him away in the interview process. He thought about hiring him then, but it wasn't a right time. This situation to him feels better to hire. Now, what does this mean about the draft? One thing, if people don't know, on the Orlando Magic's Instagram page, when they posted that they made this hire for Cliff Abel. I don't know where that came from Steve Clifford. That Trae Young, point guard out of Oklahoma, who most people have mocked to the Orlando Magic, like the post. So one thing people like, Trae Young is one, following the Magic, and two, he likes the coaching hire. Okay. More than likely, Trae Young is following almost all the lottery teams, or at least the lottery teams that are more linked to him, like from that 4 to 7 range. He's probably following all those teams, or from 4 to 10. He's probably following all those teams just in case he gets drafted by those teams. He's already following them. But for him to like the coach hire must mean it could just be that he just liked the fact that they hired a coach. Or he could like this guy. But this guy is a defensive-minded coach. So to me, it tells me I still don't know what they're doing for the draft. Because you could go with Trae Young. Trae Young's not a defender. And maybe you can use this as a teaching to help Trae Young. Trae Young's getting bigger. That's the one reports that he's bulked up, that he's gained, I think, almost 10 pounds, and he's getting stronger. So maybe they're saying that this kind of coaching hire could help Trae Young be better defensively. He could help mold and teach Trae Young how to play defense to give Trae Young a better defensive effort. It could be that. But then also on the flip side, because this guy was the assistant coach while Dwight Howard was winning 3-time defensive player years, and seeing a guy like Dwight Howard help take this Magic team to the finals, and then the following year take them to Eastern Conference Finals. And also, after we fired Van Gundy and traded Dwight Howard to LA, Clifford went to LA to the Lakers to be assistant coach, and he was only there that 1 year that 1 year that Dwight was there. So he was with Dwight for a lot of his career. Not to mention he was with Dwight last year, being Dwight's head coach. So he's been with that type of player with that type of center for a long time. Which means, and remember this organization, well, at least this general manager regime, likes Link. You see what they did when they drafted Jonathan Isaac last year. Could this mean that they'll draft Mo Bamba, who has the longest wingspan in NBA Combine history with a 10-7 wingspan. A 7-10 wingspan. He's a guy who's a shot blocker, a rebounder. Could that mean that they be transitioning more towards that direction? Because hey, this guy was assistant coach with Dwight. We had success with Dwight. We had success with Shaq. We put this guy together. We like length. Him and Jonathan Isaac, like, you could go in that direction. Or, like I said, you can go in the direction with Trae Young. So, with this coaching hire, I still can't tell you which way they're leaning as of right now, which way they're leaning. I can tell you which way I'm leaning. I prefer to get Trae Young because I think the Magic are going to need 3 things. They need a point guard, scoring, and somebody who's potentially be a star. Trae Young could be all 3 of those things at one time. 1, he's a point guard. 2, he can score. And he does have potential to be a star. Because if you draft Mo Bamba, what are you doing with the point guard position? Now, you might have a guy who could be a star, but who you drafting the point guard position? Who's scoring? You go after Michael Porter Jr., okay, somebody who could be a star, somebody who can score. Once again, who is your point guard? I'm not opposed to any of those things. I'm just saying which one I prefer. But that's neither here nor there because that's not a video about the draft. This is a video about this coaching hire. Now let's talk about his record. His record as a head coach is not terrible. It's not great either. It's as a head coach, he's coached 5 years in Charlotte. He's 196 and 214. And he's 3-4. He's 3-8 in the playoffs. His first year in the playoffs, he got swept. His first year as being the head coach in the 2013-14 season, he got swept by the Miami Heat. Now that Miami Heat team was the Miami Heat team with LeBron and Bosh and Wade. So, and then those games were actually close. I looked at the scores of the game. Those games were actually good, close games. So it's not really a shame to get swept with the type of team that he had versus the team that he was playing against, the team that ended up going to the NBA Finals, team that just won a championship the year prior, even though that season they ended up losing to the Spurs. But you lost to that type of team. Yeah, you got swept, but the type of team that you had, and your games were close. Like all 4 games were all within 10 points. I think one game might have been like a 12-point game. But other than that, the rest of the games were, for the most part, I know at least 2 of them were in single digits. I think one was like a 4-point game or a 2-point game, something like that. So, which means they were within a basket. So, which tells me that he had them ready, had them prepared, had them able to battle. Now, the following time he goes to the playoffs, he missed 2 years, then goes back to the playoffs again, and this time he loses once again to Miami Heat, but he loses in 7. It was a back-and-forth series. Some games were blowouts. Some games were close on both sides because they blew out the Heat sometimes. The Heat blew them out sometimes. They beat the Heat close. They lost the Heat close. And the Heat ultimately prevailed and won the series. And that was no Bosh and no LeBron and a depleting Wade. So that's not neither here nor like that's. I guess you say you should have won that series, maybe, possibly, but at least he has coaching playoff experience. Like I said, his record is not terrible. It's not good because it's not even a 500 record. But thinking about the type of team he had over in Charlotte, I mean, Charlotte really doesn't have nothing. So you could say, but also you could say the exact same thing for Orlando. Like Orlando doesn't have nothing. So if he can do nothing in Charlotte with nothing, he sure can't do nothing in Orlando with nothing. Which the things are true. But hopefully, with the way you draft, if you bring back Gordon, if Isaac's getting bigger, I mean, I'm seeing pictures of how Isaac is bulking up. He's getting bigger in size, and maybe he'll be able to transition to be a legitimate player, a legitimate starter. Because I don't think he started this past year in any game, but he can be on the court as a starter, play starting minutes. From the times he has played, he does change the way people play defense. He does make defensive plays. Game-changing defensive plays with shot blocks and tip passes and things like that. He does make good defensive plays. So you add that with whoever you draft. If you draft a Michael Porter Jr., if you draft a Trae Young, if you draft a Mo Bamba, if you draft a Colin Sexton, if you draft I think that's pretty much all of the names that are being thrown. I think I might have seen one that had us drafting Carter, but Wendell Carter. I don't think that's gonna happen. I don't see that. I think it's mostly between Trae Young, Mo Bamba, and Michael Porter Jr. To be honest with you, I think it's those three because Michael Porter Jr. could be the best player in the draft. Period. Like when it's all said and done, Michael Porter Jr. could be the best player in the draft. He was supposed to be number one pick going into the season. Broke his foot, had the back surgery, has back issues, with back concerns rather. Do you want a Trace McGrady incident? Even though as Magic fans, we didn't see Trace McGrady deal with back issues like Rocket fans did, because when the Rockets got him 2 years after that, he started dealing with back issues, and we see what happened to Trace McGrady. So do you want that type of situation? Or, like I say, Mo Bamba, because of the length, this new regime likes length. Like I said, now that we hire Steve Clifford, he's seen defensive monster centers before take a Magic team rather to the NBA Finals. Now they also had 3-point shooting, other thing they had around them, but he's seen that type of coaching style before. He's coached under that type of coaching style. He coached with Van Gundy with Yao Ming, so he's seen things like this before. So they could go after Mo Bamba, the length, also. Because today's NBA doesn't have that many centers. We just got through watching a series where P.J. Tucker was playing the 5 for the Rockets when Capella wasn't in the court. We see that Draymond plays majority of the minutes at the 5 with Golden State. Like, we see teams do things without prototypical centers. So teams like Philadelphia, they have Embiid. People don't have an answer for Embiid. People don't have an answer for the Rockets when they play, for Capella when the people play the Rockets half the time. Anthony Davis, the Greek figure. Like when teams play up against these guys with these bigs who can do things, they don't have no answer. So that's probably the reason why I think that Aiden should be number one. He should be number one pick in the draft, and also why the Magic could look at Mo Bamba. I'm not saying they should look at Mo Bamba. I'm just saying that's why they could. And then also Trae Young, because it just makes too much sense to draft Trae Young. Need a point guard, he's a point guard. Need a guy who can score and can assist. He's a guy who can score and assist. And I think his assistant is actually underrated because I think he's a better passer than he is a scorer. When I do my video breaking down Trae Young, I will tell y'all what I mean by that. And then also, he's a guy who, if he can score the way he scored in Oklahoma, or at least half that way, the way he took over 2 months of college basketball, that's all you heard about was Oklahoma and Trae Young. He made Oklahoma, people talk about Oklahoma Sooners. He could do the same thing in Orlando. That brings you your star. He's a guy, him and Aaron Gordon and Isaac, the whole star dynamic could be right there if you let it. So I think it's out of those 3 guys. Some people have thrown in Sexton because of he plays defense and he plays defense. He gets buckets, but he doesn't. He's a scorer, but not a shooting scorer. He goes in. He's more of a slash and a driver. And I think he's too much like EP. And I think they would have just kept. If they looking at Colin Sexton, they would just kept EP. If you ask me, if you ask me, I think they would just kept EP and they were looking at Colin Sexton. I think Colin Sexton may be a hair above EP. As far as being an NBA player, I think they pretty much the same player. Like Colin Sexton EP, De'Aaron Fox, I think they all are extremely similar. They are extremely similar. So I really highly doubt that they'll go after Sexton. But back about this coaching hire. What I'll say about this, I'm not happy, and I'm not happy. I'm glad that they hire a coach. I'm glad that we have a coach. I'm in wait and see. I have no true opinion like if this is a good or a bad hire. Because, like I said, up until this point, I did not know nothing about him. After doing my research, okay, he used to be part of a Magic organization. He's seen good coaching. He's seen Jeff in Houston. He's coached with Stan here in Orlando. His coaching as his own head coach. He'd been through some ups and downs. He had two playoff appearances, both to the Miami Heat. But he never really had a true team that you be like, okay, yeah. Because no Charlotte Bobcat / Hornet team you ever thought okay, this team can actually do something in the playoffs. So I'm not gonna hold him. I'm not gonna crush him for his playoff record or his record in general as a head coach. At least it's not a horrible record. Like I say, I think it's like 10 games under 500, something like that. So actually, no, it might be a little bit more than that. I forgot what I said his record was. Yeah, 18. He's 18 games under 500. That's what it is. Yeah. He's 18 games under 500. So again, that's not good. It's not good, but you see something. Like you see, like when you draft somebody, you have potential. He has some type of head coaching potential, and we wait and see mode. If we do what we supposed to do, drafting, the main thing when it comes to the head coach, especially for the Magic, is development, because that's what crushed us for the past couple years since Dwight Howard's been gone, and we've been going through this carousel of Jack Vaughn, of Vogel, of Scott Skiles. No one has been able to develop players, because we see Vic go off, we see we see Tobias Harris go off, we see players go off. We've seen that Aaron Gordon come on late. We seen Mario Hezonja come on late. Mario Hezonja looked like one of the worst draft picks, period, within the past 10 to 15 years, because he was a top 5 pick and he just showed you nothing. With the last couple months of the NBA season, he showed you something. Development. Why is it taking so long for these players to develop? Is it the way we're drafting, or is it the way that we're coaching? I think it's a little bit of both. One, we are drafting players who are taking a little bit longer to develop. I know people want to bring up, well, no, it's the one and dones and stuff like that. But you do have other young players producing. You have other young players to produce, but you do also see people who take a while. Like when you look at the 76ers, both Embiid and Simmons. Embiid took 2 years before he stepped on the court. It took Simmons a year before he stepped on the court. So they actually had one had 2 years and no one had a year to sit back and do other stuff before they step on the court and showed you their promise. When you got people like Lonzo who come on straight on the field, straight on the court, and his learning curve is hitting them in the face. So that could be part of it. I'm not going to discredit that. It could be part of it, but I'm also thinking it's the way that we've been coaching in the past. So since he's been, I'll say, a successful assistant coach with the Rockets and with the Magic, could he help do that? Help the progression of the young guys that we already have on this team and the guys that we're about to add on the team come with the draft. Do he have is he able to help these players grow these players and mold these players? And that's another reason why I do think they're leaning towards Trey, because I think that they see him, that he can help Trey learn defense, play defense. And if Trey can play some type of defense, just a little bit more better defense than we showed you, and he shows you that passing ability that I'm going to talk about when I do this video, and the scoring, I think Trey will be a good player. Like, share, subscribe if you haven't, comment below if you haven't, click that bell, get my videos, I holla.